Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's a pleasure to see you tonight. It's another Monday, and it's time for our program. Let's share it. I told you last week we will be coming on every Monday evening at 6 o'clock, and here we are today. We are continuing with our program. Let's share it. And for those of you who are just watching us for the first time, I'll first tell you about Listening Ears. I'll tell you about our charity. Listening Ears was established in 2006 out of a heartfelt concern about the level of isolation in our community, and we are set up to reach out to those who are marginalized, those people who are referred to as hard to reach, those who are lonely, those who are isolated, possibly depressed, or those who are grieving, or those who need someone to talk to. Then we have drop-in centers that we run for almost all our programs. And when anyone comes into our drop-in center, we start with sharing a cup of tea with them. And we have a chat, and we see what we can do to support. And we refer them to subsequent services in case it's not what we want to do within what we are able to do within the organization, because we work with several other organizations, and we kind of signpost people, because when people have challenges and they come to us, we don't claim that we have solutions to every problem, but then of course we do as much as we are able to do, and then we signpost to other services that they can get support. So Listening Ears has been working actively within the Royal Borough of Greenwich for the past 13 years now. We are going 14. In October this year, we'll clock 14 years by His grace. And we've been delivering projects and activities in the areas of our passion. And I'll detail those areas to you as we speak. The first one is that we are committed to reducing isolation and loneliness among the elderly people. And then we have a project that supports and empower young women and young girls along their journey to womanhood. Then, of course, we have another project that we kind of enlighten and empower local members of our community to take small steps of change to achieve improved health and total well-being. And over the years, across these three areas of our passion, we run 5 key projects within the community. The first one is the Rosebud Center for Girls, which is an exclusive space for girls between the ages of 7 and 19. And then we support them within the blossoming years to adolescence. So we provide a space for them where it's non-judgmental, and they can build their confidence. They can be accepted for who they are and at what point they are at in their lives. And then we support them to bring them to the point where they plan to be. I mean, everybody have goals and aspirations. So our desire is to support these girls to along that journey, so that they have somebody to listen to them, somebody to support them, a place where they can talk about whatever, regardless of how they feel, and where they are not going to be judged. Because those of parents, I mean myself inclusive, we are very quick to judge people when things happen. And particularly, one of the challenges that I have seen over the years with working with young people is that a lot of times they don't feel like they are listened to. They don't feel like they feel that they are judged. People don't want to listen to them to know what is happening and see where they are coming from. So that's our first project. And the second one is the Feel Good Centers, which is our drop-in service for the over 50s and the elderly. And the focus for that project is to reduce isolation and loneliness, and to give them an opportunity to make new friends and to improve their social interaction. We have 2 centers at the moment. We have one in Abewood, which was started in 2009, April 9th, 2009, precisely. So that means that's about 11 years now, still going strong. And then we launched a second center in Thamesmead on 20th of June 2018. So just 2 days ago, the Thamesmead project clocked 2 years. So congratulations to listening ears. Well, the third project that we run, which we tag Community Angels, is actually a project that emanated from the feel good centers. Because you see, as we were running the project of the feel good center supporting the elderly people, we started to have clients or service users who became too frail to come to the center, or those who, for one reason or the other, they are isolated in their homes and they really can't come out to access the project, but then they still need us. So we had to start to reach out to them. In other words, we were taking the service to them in their homes. And we tagged that project Community Angels. So we recruit volunteers who go to the houses of our service users to support them. Give them an hour a week, and within that 1 hour, they can have a chat, have a laugh, just do something, just about expecting somebody to knock their door, basically, and say, hello, Joan, hello, Janet, how are you feeling? Just somebody apart from the milkman. Because to be honest with you, you don't have an idea. Some of the service users we have for our Community Angels project, some of them have no other person except the volunteers that listening are sent to visit them. And that's only once in a week for just an hour. So it's the isolation out there is so thick, very thick, you can touch it. But you see, when people are not really on the field, working in this area, it's difficult to be able to assess or appreciate how much isolation is out there. A lot of people, they have nobody to talk to. They're just on their own. Some don't even have a cat or a dog, because sometimes when people have a cat or a dog or a pet here and there, at least they have some kind of company, even though there is nothing like the company of a fellow human being. But at least they take some consolation in probably having a pet. But some don't even have any pet. So invariably, they have total reliance on the volunteers that we send to them. And I remember when I go to do an assessment, because usually we do an initial assessment. And what I'm about to say, I say that with a lot of due respect. When I go to do the assessment, which ordinarily shouldn't take more than 30 minutes for us to have a discussion so I know where they are coming from, because usually we'll have had a referral form which will have told us almost everything we want to know about the potential client. But then we go there to pay the first visit. Sometimes when I get there, if I had planned I was going there to spend about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, sometimes if I'm able to leave after 1.5 hours, I'm lucky. Because you see, the thing is, because they have nobody they have been talking to, it's like they have an opportunity. Oh, somebody has just come through the door. Let me tell her everything I've been dying to tell somebody. So it is that terrible. And you can imagine this past 3 months with all this COVID situation, honestly, it is just unbelievable. It's terrible. Because you see, what we try to do at Listening Ears, we have tried to keep in touch with all our service users as much as possible, because we can't go to visit anybody. And the isolation is even getting worse. Anyway, so I'll move on to we'll talk more about that later. I'll move on to the next project, which we call Steps to Living, which is our health and lifestyle community project. And that is built around empowering the members of our community to take very small steps of change in their cooking habit, in their eating and their lifestyle, so that they can achieve tremendous improvement in their overall well-being. And then finally, we have a project we call Let's Share It, which is the one we are listening to at the moment. Let's Share It is our weekly talk show. and it reflects the slogan of our charity, Listening Ears. The slogan is sharing the burden and achieving positive changes. So this program provides the opportunity for you as listeners to ask your questions, to receive advice, to receive support on various challenges of life or situations you might be going through. And the ultimate goal is to be able to empower each other. You know, you empower me, I empower you, you empower us, we empower you to achieve fulfilled lives and to enjoy wholesome relationships. So if you want to look at more information on our services and on our charity generally, you can always visit our website, listeningears.org, and you can visit the rosebudcenter.org for the project for the young girls. And if you have any question, you can always send us an email. So that's in brief about our charity, Listening Ears. Maybe just about the end of the program, we'll talk about how you can support us, because as a charity, we are always looking to receiving support from people who believe in what we are doing and members across our diverse community. So let's talk about our project for today, the talk show, which is Let's Share It. And the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is about the vision and the purpose of this project. And it is to actualize the main vision of Listening Ears, which is sharing the burden and achieving positive changes. You see, because we believe that when we share around this kind of space, there are quite a lot of things that are going on for people. What I have discovered from experience, because we have actually done the pilot of this program before. We were doing it on an internet radio station. We did it for quite a couple of months, and then we were able to make a lot of assessment to inform, do we want to go forward with it? And one of the things I have discovered is that a lot of people are going through the same thing. They have the same kind of questions in their minds at different times. But a lot of times, some people don't even have the opportunity to ask those questions. Sometimes people have opportunity to ask the questions, but they don't have the opportunity of who to ask. At other times, it might be because they don't want to be judged. Because you see, when people say they are going through stuff, it's very normal a lot of times for people to judge them without really knowing where they are coming from. And with us at Listening Ears, we believe that it's a very popular statement that a problem shared is already half solved. So sometimes people are going through those issues and they have nobody to confide in. Sometimes it's the confidence to talk about it that they lack. And that is not because they don't have self-confidence, don't get me wrong, but because they are not sure about the person they want to talk to, how the person is going to react or respond to them. And a lot of times, because people just judge, they just judge you, and it's because they don't have an idea where you are coming from, and they are not able to step into your shoes. Because if they are able to step into your shoes, trust me, they wouldn't pass the kind of judgment ordinarily that they will have passed. So on this show, therefore, we will provide a conducive space for the members of our community to express your challenges and be listened to in a non-judgmental manner. And with your cooperation, we will explore different approaches to achieving a solution that will empower you to progress on to the next level of your life, or to basically find a way forward within that particular situation. Like I said earlier on when I logged on, we cannot promise that all the problems will be resolved, but at least we can share the weight of the problem and we can signpost you in the appropriate direction for further assistance. And that's because we work in partnership with quite a number of reputable organizations and other service providers who give support to our clients as and when necessary. So, I want us to talk about what to expect on this talk show. Every Monday at 6 p.m., you can join me on this platform and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions and to receive answers to issues that bother you and you will receive encouragement and advice on how to progress on the matter. Then further down into the episodes, to ensure your satisfaction as listeners, we will invite guests onto this platform from different professional backgrounds who can also provide, further insight into the issues that we might be talking about, because I can only talk within my knowledge and my experience. But of course, we are going to invite other people who are professionals in different fields and who will shed some light on whatever is the topic that we are talking about. Then the listeners, you listeners, will also be encouraged to suggest subjects that you want us to discuss. And if there is a popular demand about that particular subject, it will be scheduled for maybe the subsequent week. But then the focus of this program will center on emotional, physical, and mental well-being. It will also include lifestyle and different types of relationships. So we will also share ideas on issues surrounding parenting and, general issues of life. So you have several options. You can ask your questions, or you can contribute by typing into the chat box on YouTube as the program is on, because it's on live every Monday. So you can type in your question, which I will easily pick here, and then we can look at the question, or if there is a particular topic that I have raised or I'm talking about and you want to pass a comment about it, you can easily also put your comment in the chat box. Or you can send an email, which is to help@listeningears.org. If you send that and we pick it during the week, then the following Monday we will read it out and then we can deal with it. Then you can phone while the show is on. We have our helpline now. The helpline is 07555 022 006. 0755 sorry 07555 02 2006. So that's our helpline. Or you can send a text. Now I need to say clearly now what you should not expect on this program. And I want to say that we will not discuss politics. We will not discuss religion. We can talk about faith. At this point, I need to mention I'm a Christian, and of course, I have Christian beliefs and ideologies. But then, having said that, Listening Ears is a community organization. People don't have to be Christians to benefit from our service. So our services benefit people from different faiths and beliefs. But we will not discuss religion. I mean, personally, I'm a Christian counselor. If you ask me for questions or challenges you want me to advise you, I am going to tell you upfront that, of course, I will approach it from my perspective as a Christian counselor. And if that's comfortable for the person, then that's it. But like I said, you really don't have to be in a particular faith to receive support from Listening Ears. We are very inclusive. You can be of any faith, but you can always access our service. And then we are not going to talk about ethnicity. Like I said, we are very inclusive. You don't have to be of a particular ethnicity or any of to be able to access our service. As long as you are a human being and you have issues you want to talk about, then you are welcome. And then the final thing I will say about that is that we will request that people's names are not mentioned. So please, when you either phone in or you type in, please don't mention people's names, because in line with the data protection regulations, we don't want to mention anybody's names, except when the person has categorically requested that we should mention their name. Otherwise, we would rather want to keep your privacy as much as you want, because we respect the privacy of our service users. So that's enough information about our show. Let's share it, and about Listening Ears. Now, for today's program, there are two situations actually that have coming during the week that I want us to talk about tonight. I will read the situations to you, and then of course I will give my suggestion as a way forward for the people who have written the questions or the statements or the email or the letter, as the case may be. And then, of course, if you have some suggestions of what we want to say to the writer, you can type in your suggestion in the chat box, and then I can always read it out. Now, the first one, and I'll call the name of the person XYZ, because as I promised, we are not going to mention anybody's name. She wrote in and says she's a middle-aged young woman who has suffered with mental health issues in the past. And she said she has sought help. She said she got some counseling and she has gotten over most of the issues that was bothering her. But she now said in her workplace, however, she said because they were aware of the problems she had, quite a lot of her colleagues avoid her during lunch break, even when she makes efforts to talk to them. She now says she's getting frustrated about the effects the stigma has left on her and is considering looking for another job. She said she enjoys her job and she does not really want to change her job, but she finds it very difficult to continue to remain in this office under the present conditions. So that is a situation that somebody has written in, asking you, listeners, to give her an advice on what you think she should do. I mean, this is part of the things that we will be talking about in the course of this program about, mental health of everybody and the challenges that surround mental health situations, because it's just so terrible. The kind of stigma that surrounds it, where people are not given adequate support that they need to get in many situations. I mean, if we look at the case of this innocent young woman, I mean, everybody does have one issue or the other. I've got my own issues. Everyone listening to me today, you've got your own issues. But the thing is, it's so sad that people are judged by the situations they are going through at a particular moment. And what I think is just because people who do the judgment, I want to believe that it's because they don't have enough enlightenment about what it means to be in that kind of situation. Because if they do, I'm sure they will be more friendly or more tolerant of the situations that people find themselves. But for me personally, what I'm going to suggest to our client, well, our listener, XY means XYZ, is that I really don't, personally, I don't believe in running away from problems. And I am saying this without any disrespect. I'm saying it with a lot of respect for her. In fact, I want to first of all say I congratulate her courage, to even write this letter in the first place. I really want to appreciate her courage. And I also want to appreciate the fact that she doesn't really want to change her job. So that actually makes it easy for me to give her support and advice. You see, because sometimes when people have challenges like this, one of the serious issues in our hands is about how to even support them to embrace the situation for what it is. Because when you embrace the situation that you have in your hand, it is easier to move on to the next level. So I want to congratulate Ms. XYZ for even summing out, getting all the confidence to write this letter in, and then the decision that she has made in her mind not to want to leave the job, because that's the line I'm going to encourage her in. However, I will still request that she will still seek some ongoing support in terms of helping to encourage her, helping to continue to build her confidence, and then learning some different strategies of how to relate with people even when they are difficult. Because you see, in different kinds of situations, there are strategies that you need to utilize when you want to work with people who are difficult. getting along with difficult people. Because you see, the irony of life is you will always have these kinds of people everywhere in different walks of life, even in our families, in the schools, in the offices, in different situations, in our homes, even in our relationships. You have to, in some situations, you have to work with some people who are just, they are not just difficult, they are just impossible. You know what I mean when they say somebody is impossible? That means there is no amount of how much you try to please them, there is no doing it right with them. If you lift it too high, they will complain it is too high. If you put it too low, they will tell you it is too low. So you don't even know where to, you don't actually practically know how do I get it right. So there are people like that. Unfortunately, we really cannot change them, but we can change our attitude about how we work with them. And I know through different kinds of trainings and exposure that I have gotten with various kinds of experience I have been able to gather from people that I work with, I know that with some effort, there is absolutely almost no kind of person one cannot deal with. The only thing is one needs to learn the different strategies of dealing with them. And it is not something we can just talk about on the phone in 2 minutes. So that's why I said my counsel to Miss XYZ is that she will need to still utilize ongoing support. And within that framework of support, things that she will need to learn will be different strategies of how to work or how to get along with difficult people. Yes, that's the statement I've been looking for. How to get along with difficult people, because there are skills that you need to use to get along with difficult people. People who just won't allow you to get it right, no matter how much you try. Because if you look at the part of what she said she even makes effort to talk to them during break time, but then they avoid her as if the mental health issue is an infectious thing. Sometimes it's very not only annoying and embarrassing. Sometimes I'm short of adjectives to qualify certain things that people do. But you know what? I'm used to it because of the kind of work that I do. I know I'm never surprised when people put up certain kinds of behavior or approach to different things. It never catches me unawares because I know that human beings can be funny. So this is a typical situation of how funny and unfriendly and embarrassing people can be. But Miss XYZ, I want to congratulate you again. I want to believe you are listening or watching tonight, and you can, try and get back to us, and we can see where do we signpost you to continue to receive ongoing support. The next one comes from a mother. She said, I'm a mother of a 14-year-old. Oh, sorry, comes from a 14-year-old girl. But she's actually writing in because of her mother. She said she's a 14-year-old girl, and she said her mother is always shouting and screaming at her. She said when anything happens in the house, she doesn't know how to talk quietly about it. She said, I am wondering if she hates me or if there is anything that I have done to make her behave like that to me. And this is all the time. She said, I am so frustrated, I feel like running away. But I'm afraid she's going to be very lonely because she and my father have broken up and I am all that she has got. Oh dear. Ah, what a shame. Look at another situation. A 14-year-old girl. You remember when I was talking about our project Rosebud Center? I was saying to you that what Listening Ears does is we provide a non-judgmental space for these girls to talk about things, no matter what it is, because we appreciate the challenge that most teenagers and most young people generally, the challenges they face in the fact that they believe, not just that they believe it, but it is the reality of life. A lot of people, a lot of times, they are not listened to. People just, there are even some people who have already believed, and well, they might have a reason which for me is not really plausible. A reason for, because some of them, they just come up with the fact that, oh, all young people, they are terrible people, and that's not nice. That's not nice. The fact that one has met a young person who had been terrible or who had been nasty does not mean every young person is terrible or nasty. But you see, it is important for us to appreciate the fact that everybody is an individual, and we should be ready to treat people on their own merit as different individuals. And that is along the line during this talk show, we will do a lot of discussions around relationships, because in my few years of experience of doing this work, that is one area that I discover that is a huge problem about relationships. Why? Little things that create problems, little things that could easily be avoided, little things that could be resolved, but because people probably don't have the skill, or sometimes they don't have the patience, or sometimes they don't even have an idea what to do to be able to manage that situation. So we are going to do a lot of discussion around relationships on this program. But for coming back to this letter today that this young lady has written, the 14-year-old girl, well, she says her mother always shouts and screams at her. Well, that's I think that's it's not too uncommon. I say that again without disrespect, because I hear that all the time. Remember, we work with young people. One of our projects work with young people, and I hear a lot of things there. And a lot of us mothers were guilty of not handling relationships well with our children, particularly our daughters, when they get to certain age in life. I mean, this is a 14-year-old girl, for instance. She's already growing into a young woman, and in her own space, she at least deserves some kind of respect, no matter how little the respect. So that's another area we are going to talk about, because I was discussing with somebody a few days ago, and we were talking about the fact that respect has to be reciprocal. You see, even though we are parents of our children, as much as we expect our children to give us respect, there is a level of respect we also need to give our children, by giving them a voice, by allowing them to be individuals that they are. And a lot of things we need to, that's why when I was talking about things we will discuss, some of it will border around parenting. And please don't get me wrong, listening ears is not saying that you don't know how to parent your children. That's not what I am saying. What I'm saying is that we will share ideas, we will share opportunities, we will share hold on a moment. There is a phone call coming in. Hello? 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 Oh dear. Hello? We lost that call. Uh, Sorry about that. We lost that call. I think somebody was trying to call in. Somebody was trying to call in. Maybe the person will call back. Yes, what I was saying. Yes, I was saying that as parents, there is a level of respect we are supposed to give to our children, as much as we also expect them to respect us. That will be a topic for another day, because that one is a big can of worms that we need to open and we need to talk about. Because you see, at the end of the day, one of the key goals of listening ears is that people will enjoy very beautiful and happy relationships. And we can only do this by exchanging ideas, by sharing opinions, and discussing issues, getting support, getting advice. Sometimes some people don't even know how to do things better, and that's fine. That's very fine. You see, because you don't know if you don't learn. The only person who has a problem is the person who doesn't want to learn. And once we are open to learning, because for me, generally speaking, I believe life is a school. You keep learning every day. As a matter of fact, people who are very close to me, there is a statement I say very often, and I say that any day that we wake up and we go to sleep at night and we cannot identify something new we learned that day, for me, it's a wasted day. It's a day that we will have done something better with. So, having said that, we will learn so much from each other on this talk show. I am not saying I'm going to teach you so much. No, I only have limited knowledge. But by the grace of God, the experience that I've been able to gather over the 13 years of running this charity and over the period of time I've been working with people as a counselor, working with people in the community. I mean, I've gathered a lot of experience from things that people go through. And then, of course, because of all the kinds of trainings I have also been through to equip myself so I can be in a position to support people. So I'll bring up all my own ideas and, skills and knowledge that I have. And then, of course, we will join it with your ones, and then we can do things better. We can become better parents, we can enjoy better relationships, we can be happier, we can enjoy better health. So many things we are going to learn. So please, I'm going to just ask that every Monday, just give this 1 hour and join me on this program. Let's share it, because you see, every week will be different. What we are going to talk about next week is not going to be the same about today, except in a situation where there is something that we left hanging this week. Maybe there is something that for instance, you might ask me some questions that I still need to make some inquiries to get back to you. So in that kind of situation, I'll probably tell you, okay, next week we are going to continue to talk about that. But then I can assure you, every week there'll be something new we want to talk about. So let's go back to the young lady who wrote in the letter. So one of the things I'm going to say to her first is to congratulate her again for summing up the courage to write into Let's Share It, to talk about the issues that she's going through. And the other thing I want to say is that I want to assure her that she's not alone in this kind of situation. That's why I said this is actually going to form a very big topic that we are going to talk about at some point within the next couple of weeks. We are going to do a lot of work around there. But you see, one of the key things I want to talk about, like I said again, is that people need to learn a lot of skills about dealing with people. Now, in this kind of situation now, where the mother, sometimes I want to also see some things from the perspective of the mother. And this is not to say that I am trying to advocate for her. Sometimes there are challenges that we have, and knowingly or unknowingly, we are taking it out on people who are close to us, which is a shame. Because sometimes, if you look at the letter she wrote, she said the mother has actually separated from the father, and she's the only one that the mother has. And she's even so considerate, she doesn't want to run away. Because she says the mother is going to be alone. I want to congratulate you again, my young lady, for being so considerate and for being so kind, in spite of how your mother has behaved. But you see, you know what? I will, since you have written us, we have your email, so I will get back in touch with you, because there are some of these challenges that we cannot really solve all the problems on air. We have to do some kind of one-to-one with people. So I'm going to get in contact with you, and we are going to look at an opportunity to talk further about this situation. And then one of the things, for instance, in our project for young girls, the Rosebud Center, one of the key things that we do there is we also work with the parents. You see, because when we started that project, even though our goal was to reach out to young girls to support them, but by the time we observed the feedback we were getting from the girls, and we discovered that there is a lot of communication gap in between many of the young people and their parents, we decided that it was better for us to start to also work alongside with the parents so that we can be on the same page. And since we started to do that, we've been getting fantastic results. You see, because the thing is, we have to carry along many of these parents, because sometimes the parents and the child, they are from different parts of the world in terms of their perspective, and what you can only expect in that house is nothing but chaos. So but what we do, we will be in between the child and the mother, or the child and the father, or the child and the parents, as the case may be, and try to be the go-between, and we try to see how can we maintain a kind of a link, and then get the two of them to come together, and then to be able to sort out the strains that is in their relationship. And then I'm proud and grateful to God to say that the feedbacks we have been getting since we started to work with the parents of our girls is very impressive and very interesting. And that project, we call it Rose Garden, by the way. So if there are mothers out there who think you would appreciate some support around better parenting. Like I said, we are not saying that you are not able to parent your children, but at least an opportunity where you can meet fellow mothers like yourself. You can share ideas, you can exchange notes. I mean, there are so many kinds of issues and challenges and problems. As much as possible, I avoid using that word problem. But a lot of times, there are quite a lot of situations that are common to people, to mothers generally. So if you come into that project, you'll be able to meet fellow moms like yourself, with whom you can brainstorm, you can share ideas. And we not only do that, we also try to provide skills for these moms as well. They do a lot of learning. Sometimes they learn jewelry making, they do some arts and crafts. We try to empower them as well, because some of them might be stay-home moms, and then so they have opportunity to learn things that they can do with their time, which can even make them more economically viable. So that is how we are going to pause on that particular case for now. I'm going to send my young lady an email so that we can get to put in place some little one-to-one support for her, as the case may be. Now, the other thing I want us to talk about today, which is the key title for today, is about well-being, stress, and anxiety. And so I'm going to just quickly go through that with us. Well-being is a positive outcome that is meaningful for people, which makes them perceive that their lives are going on very well. And this, however, includes the quality of our relationships. You see, everything we've been talking about is always revolving around relationships. Our positive emotions and resilience, the realization of our potential, or our overall satisfaction with life. That, as we know, too much stress can cause serious ill health. I don't need to overemphasize that. Everybody knows that. A little stress every now and then is not going to do any harm, because everybody does experience little stress here and there. But when it happens on a weekly or a daily basis, or it starts to feel like a situation that is going to be there permanently, then we need to do something about it before it takes over that person's life. That is, if it has not done so already. I know life happens and all is going on around all of us, whether we are fully participating or not. Because sometimes life happens around people and they are not participating. That's a story for another day. I don't want to go into that today because I don't want to be distracted. Now, the question is, how is it that some people appear more resilient than others? My take is, when life throws an unexpected obstacle, some just find a new way to deal with it and they grow from their learnings, while others may struggle, they may become ill, they may be anxious, they may suffer for months, they may even suffer for years for that same issue that somebody just handled and they dealt with it. Now, I want us to consider what makes the experiences and the outcomes different for these two categories of people. Now, by knowing how our mind works, can help us to take control of our lives. And eventually, it will help us to take complete control and respond to life in a better and in a positive way. So today, I'm going to give you 10 tips that we can start to use to improve our life and eventually take absolute control. Tip number 1 is that you should be grateful for what you have. When you stop to remember what you have instead of worrying about what you don't have, because a lot of times that's what some of us do. We worry about what we don't have or what we may not be getting. But when we stop to be grateful for the one we already have, definitely it will change our perspective and it will do that for the better. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, you need to start your day the night before. Most successful people I know, they end their work day by making a list of what they want to do the following day, or sometimes even 2 days ahead. And this allows your subconscious to work on things even while you sleep. So that's tip number 2. Number 3, be ready to grow up. You see, because adults have the ability to learn to delay gratification, but we also have a choice as to how to behave when things don't go our way. You know, a lot of things won't go the way we plan it. But if you remember to take the high road, you will end up where you want to be. Tip number 4 is to drop the attitude. If you think the world owes you a living, you might want to reevaluate your position, because quite a lot of people go around with that perspective that the world owes them something. It's quite possible that by feeling entitled, you are pushing things away and you are pushing people away. And this might be relationships that will have really benefited your life. But because you are coming from the perspective of the fact that life owes us something. You know, a lot of people always believe that they are entitled to certain things, certain kinds of treatment. So that is one area we need to watch if we are not going down that stream of stress and anxiety. Now, tip number 5, don't ignore your emotions, but remember that feelings are not facts. You see, even though I said you shouldn't ignore your emotions, but it is so important to remember that these feelings, they are just feelings, and that is what they are. They are not facts. So emotions need to be honored, but they don't have to be justified. I hope you are really listening to what I'm saying so that you can see the difference. And if you have any questions about it, you can type in your question in the chat box. So the fact that you have a particular feeling, it doesn't mean that you are right. So like I said, they're just feelings. They are not necessarily facts, even though the two of them start with an F, but they don't mean the same thing. Tip number 6, watch out for negative thinking. Sometimes we get into negative feedback loops and we don't even know it. If thoughts of being helpless or hopeless continue to enter our mind, we might just need a nap, or perhaps talk to somebody to help you, or take a walk or something. The moment we start to feel like that, excuse me, a lot of times it might be because we are tired and we just need to take a little break from whatever we are doing, or we talk to somebody. And then tip number 7, we set up and stick to a routine. All of us are creatures of habit, and good habits such as regular exercise, they make us feel better. And when we maintain any good habit that we have set up, it makes us feel good, and it makes us feel like we are in control over our lives. And a lot of times we may not feel like it, but you know what? We just do it. Because a lot of times when we decide to make certain habits, for instance, like doing exercise every day, I made up my mind since the lockdown. I think next week we are going to talk about lockdown, this coronavirus and all the effects and things that have been happening for people, and all sorts of tips and suggestions and ideas that we have about it that we can share. That will be our discussion for next week. But coming to myself, talking about the tip number 7 that I was trying to give you about sticking to a routine. I mean, like I promised myself, I was going to make sure I exercise daily because I know I need it. I need it for my health. I need it for my mental well being. I need it for my weight so I don't pile up. You know, when you sit down in the house and you are not really going anywhere, working from home and all that, if you are not careful, you will just be piling on the pounds. And I didn't want to do that at all. So I made up my mind that I'll be doing exercises and all that. My children already bought me a Wii Fit. So I try to use that. But what I want to bring out is some mornings I wake up and I'm like, oh my goodness. Ah, today I'm tired. I don't feel like it. But you know what? Like this morning, for example, is a typical example because last week I had to set up a Zoom meeting for 9 o'clock, which is not usually what I do. I try to start my day a little later than that. I mean, my day in terms of working with people outside. But this particular request came that I needed to have that meeting for 9 o'clock this morning. And so when I got up this morning, I thought yesterday I'd already be. You see, this thing is about mindset. Yesterday night before I went to sleep, I'd been thinking, oh my God, tomorrow I have to have an early start. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do my exercise and stuff like that. So I went to bed with that in my head. So that kind of a lazy attitude of not wanting to do the exercise woke up with me this morning, as you can imagine. So when I got up this morning and I thought, oh, I need to do my prayers quickly, read my Bible so I can get ready, and by 9 o'clock I'll be ready for my meeting. But my mind told me, Tony, this is a habit you want to keep. And I thought, you know what? Usually I spend 1 hour to do my exercise because I'll do different kinds of exercises in the morning. I could do the jogging, I could do hula hoops and all. I just do variety of things within the 1 hour. So I made up my mind this morning that, you know what? Rather than not doing anything at all, even if it is only 20 minutes, I'm going to do it. So I got up and I think I ended up doing about 17 minutes, of exercise. And I was glad I did it. So that goes on back to my point 7. Set up a routine and stick to it. No matter how difficult, just do it. Because the moment you do it, you'll be surprised that you just keep improving by the day. And then tip number 8 is that you drop your resentments. We all have resentments. Everybody. Nobody is excluded. Whether they are towards our parents, it might be towards our partners, it might be towards our friends, it might be towards our children, it might be towards our neighbors, it might be towards anybody. Resentments, they take up too much psychic space to allow us to function properly. So you are better off dropping them, because by choosing to drop them, we will make our lives much lighter. But the hardest part is to make that decision that we want to let resentment go. Because if we can take that decision that I'm going to let this resentment go, then it's easier to drop it. But we have to take that decision. And then number 9 says, know who you really are and learn to honor yourself. We all fake it from time to time. But every once in a while, this can be a good thing. I mean, Joel Osteen is always saying, you fake it like until you make it. And when he says that, he means this in a positive way, because he was talking about faith, about walking in faith, confessing what I mean, if we look at what the Bible says, that it says faith is calling those things that be not as though they are. That's the perspective from which he's talking, saying that you should fake it till you make it. I mean, if you are not feeling too strong and you say, I'm strong, you just believe it and then you talk it into existence. He is coming from that perspective. So every once in a while, many of us fake it till we make it, if we are coming from that perspective, because that's the only perspective that I will approve of, for us to fake it till we make it. But then we should never, and I mean never, compromise our values, and we should always strive to be our best self. I'm talking about our values, mean when we are choosing our friends, choosing what we want to do and things like that, every one of us have our values. And these values are things that we should never, under any circumstance, compromise them, because that will go a long way in helping us to focus on whatever our direction or our goal is. And the final tip, which is tip number 10, is that we should enjoy a part of every day, every blessed day. You see, by the time we even think about the fact that we are blessed to be woken up to another day, it's a privilege. Because I'm telling you, trust me, there are so many people who slept yesterday. They are no longer here today. And we are not better than them. And we are not saying that disrespectfully. We are saying that to appreciate the privilege of witnessing another day. And then when we get up in the morning, we go out, we run around, we go to work, we go to school, we go to so many places. And at the end of the day, we came back home safely in one piece. A lot of people go out, they get involved in accidents, all sorts of things happen. Some people collapse when they go out, all sorts of things happen. But when we go out one day, do all that we need to do for the day, and then we come back home in one piece, trust me, we need to be grateful. We need to be able to recognize one good thing about that day. You see, if we come from that perspective, I can assure you, we will be less complaining. We won't moan as much as we always do if we think about the good aspects of every day that we have been able to experience. It will inform how we are going to embrace that day, and it will make a point, we will make it a point of seeing something good about that day. And that thing that is good, we'll be grateful for it and we thank God for it. Because in our thanksgiving, the Bible says we will receive more when we are thankful. So when we thank, even in culture, in our culture when we are growing up, I don't know whether that cuts across different cultures, but they say the person who was thankful for what you did for them yesterday, they will receive another support today. I want to believe that probably goes across different cultures. It goes on in my culture and it goes on in the faith that I have. That when we are grateful, because even the Bible asks people that in our Thanksgiving, we should make our request known to God. So which means we shouldn't continue to complain. We should learn to thank God for what we have been able to achieve. Thank God for the little things we have been able to see for the day. Look at the weather today, for instance. Look at the sunshine. So many things that if we are really thoughtful enough, if we just look deeply within, we will have every cause to thank God, to be thankful. And we won't even have any time left to complain and to moan. So that's my last tip for today, because I'm watching the time. I want to make sure I stay within the 1 hour for now. I know eventually, when need be, we might need to increase the space of time that we spend on this program. But for now, it's going to be an hour. And in the remaining 2 minutes, I just want to quickly talk about how you can support us. And by the way, I want to announce that for our elderly people, people who are 50 years and above, we run our exercise sessions online on Zoom. So if you want to join, you can send an email to feelgoodcenters@gmail.com. And you can just go on our website. You will see all the information there. You can send an email and you can make a phone call to Kim, and you can call the number that I gave you. I gave you the number earlier. The helpline is 07555 022 006. And we meet on Wednesdays and on Fridays. It's from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. That's what the time the session runs. We have exercise. We have a lot of time to chill out, to discuss, to play games, and do different things and just beat the isolation online. The same thing for our girls center, the Rosebud Center for Girls. They meet on Zoom every day, Monday to Friday. If you go on the website of rosebudcenter.org, you will see all the information. So if you send maybe for your daughter or for yourself, if it's a young lady listening to me, you can go on the website and you can send an email, and the project coordinator or one of the members of staff will get back to you. on the to respond and let you know how you can join. But the Zoom sessions, they run every day from Monday to Friday. So in my 1 minute that remains, let me quickly tell you, how can you support listening ears? Well, we look for opportunities for partnership work with corporate organizations. You know, as a charity, all our services we deliver, they are free of charge. So we are always looking for donations. We are always looking for funding. So we'll appreciate if there are corporate organizations out there, maybe where you work, and you can introduce us to them as a charity that is making a positive, and if I can proudly say, a tangible difference in the lives of people. I mean, we've been touching lives in the Royal Borough of Greenwich for the past 13 years. And to attest to that, we've had a lot of awards in recognition of the beautiful work that we are doing. So you can recommend us to you can recommend us to you can recommend us to people you can recommend us to people who can support us, and they can give us sponsorships. And then we also will appreciate support from individual members. And the way you can support us is you can help us in volunteering to mentor our girls, and then you can give us your professional skills in volunteering. You can volunteer to become a befriender for any of our isolated elderly people. Then you can become a partner for listening ears. You can become a partner to our charity by becoming a partner, giving us monthly donation. No amount is too small. We take as little as £5 a month. And if you have 1 million you want to give us for a month, it's not too much, because we have big dreams of transforming this community. So we will appreciate any kind of donation. And then again, you can register on, if you go on our website, there is a link that's for easy fundraising, and there are about over 3,500 retail shops that are linked to it, and they include eBay, Amazon, Argos, ASOS, all notable retailers. They are there, enrolled on the program. So if you register on the easy fundraising link, you can raise money for listening ears, and that is at no cost to you. Because what happens is, when you register, when you shop on any of those links, any of those retail websites, the retailer gives us a donation. They give us pennies, but they add up. So it will be greatly appreciated if you join us in supporting us by registering on that website. So that's all I've got for you today on Let's Share It. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week, Monday at 6 o'clock. Please join in then, and it will be lovely to see you. So, love from me, from everybody at Listening Ears. Take care of yourself and each other. Bye.